If there's anybody standing in the back and you're blocking the door, can you please refrain from blocking the door? We have space over here to the side if you would like to stand.
Up here?
Rick, where's Rick? There's people in the back that say they can't hear. Is there any way to adjust them? So I will repeat, if you're standing in the back and you are blocking any of the entrances, please come stand over here to the side. We do have additional space. We're going to start in a few seconds, hopefully. Again, if you're blocking any of the doors in the back, any of the exits, please come into the room, and there's more space over here on the side. Good morning, everyone. The time is now 8:34 a.m. I call to order the March 21st, 2019 meeting of the California Contractors State License Board. I'm Marla Richardson, the board chair. Vice Chair Johnny Simpson, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, absent the flag? Felice, can you please call roll and make sure we have a quorum?
Marlo Richardson.
Aye.
Kevin Albanese.
Here.
Frank Altamura.
Here.
Augie Beltran.
Present.
Linda Clifford. Here. David De La Torre.
Here.
David Diaz.
Here.
Susan Granzella.
Here.
Joan Hancock.
Here.
Mike Layden.
Here.
Frank Shetter.
Here.
Johnny Simpson.
Here.
Nancy Springer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. On behalf of the entire board and our staff, I'd like to thank the California Building Officials, or CALBO, for hosting our meeting here. CALBO has been holding their annual business meeting this week, and they have graciously allowed us to use this room for our meeting. In a few minutes, we will be discussing a new partnership we're establishing with CALBO. I'd also like to welcome our newest board member, Frank Altamura Jr. Frank, who is from Vacaville, is a public member. Frank, would you please introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, background is in mechanical engineering, moved into software. Actually started out designing renewable energy power plants, mostly in solar, photovoltaic, and PV. Moved into energy management software, currently with Train Ingersoll Rand, managing products that suck data out of buildings and do a lot of energy analysis. So that's about it.
Thank you. Welcome to the board. On February 26th, Kevin Albanese and I participated in the board's joint sunset hearing before the Senate Committee on Business and Professions and Economic Development and the Assembly Committee on Business and Professions. We also look forward to hearing in a few minutes from the outgoing director of the Department of Consumer Affairs. I don't have any comment about the sunset here. Next on the agenda, item B, is our public comment section. The board values input from the public as part of its consumer protection mission and welcomes public comment on items not on the today's agenda at this time. To allow the board enough time to conduct its full schedule of business, I will be limiting public comment to 3 minutes. There are a few other rules that apply. First, California law prohibits board members from discussing any new matter brought up during public comment. Also, we're not allowed to act on any item not on the agenda. If you want the board to discuss a topic not on the agenda, and you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda for a future meeting. If you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charge pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. That's because board members may be the judges and by law are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not a part of the administrative record in the case. This will not be the public's only opportunity to make comments today during this meeting. If your comments don't involve an item on the agenda, this is your opportunity to make them. If your comments are related to a specific agenda item, you may want to wait until that item comes up for discussion, or you can make your comments now if you'd prefer. If you plan to offer public comment on the energy storage system agenda, we'd encourage you to wait until we get to that item so that board members can receive your comments together during that discussion. We would also ask that if you do want to speak on that item, please fill out a speaker card so that we can have an accurate record of who is speaking. At this time, are there any members of the public who wish to address the board or offer an agenda item for a future meeting? Do any board members have an item that they would like to place on a future meeting agenda? Moving on to agenda item C, partnering with California business building officials. A review of the discussion of a partnership with California building officials to develop strategies to address the underground economy and construction. Board member Nancy Springer, whose daytime job is the chief building official for Sacramento County, is going to present this item. Nancy?
I got it. CSLB.
Missy's presenting.
Yes. Hi, I'm Missy Vickery. CSLB and California building officials are collaborating to reduce unlicensed practice by reducing barriers to licensure and combating the underground economy. As a result of our collaboration, Board Member Nancy Springer, Registrar Dave Fote, and myself were invited to attend a 90-minute workshop on Tuesday, March 19th, at Calbo's annual business meeting. The workshop included a proposal for CSLB to collaborate with 6 building departments to perform a pilot program that will include 5 components listed on page 7 of your packets. On page 8 of your packet, you will see 4 data points that will be measured and tracked in these chosen pilot jurisdictions. We had a great success. We had 6 people who came forward and wanted their jurisdictions included and anticipate receiving more in the next couple of weeks. Nancy, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, the workshop presented an opportunity for the building officials that were in the room to have a candid conversation with staff. They got to be able to talk about other issues as well that they were having within the construction industry. And then we feel that, you know, as they left, they had contacts that they knew that they could reach out to with the board to be able to reach out to them when they have some issues to be able to resolve them. They were also engaged, they participated, they were really excited about the pilot program, and I believe they look forward to the collaboration. So thank you. Thank you both for the time that you spent on the workshop.
That concludes our update.
Thank you.
If I could just make a comment, I think it was so important about those workshops is that we were able to come up with underground economy matrix, if you would, statistics. So we could obtain benchline statistics, and then by working together, show that we can make a difference by increasing licensees within the jurisdiction, business license compliance, workers' comp compliance, reduce owner-builder permits because licensees are getting the contracts, and I think that everybody will benefit. So it's a 12-month pilot. We hope at the completion of the 12-month period that those jurisdictions that are participating can go to their city council or board of supervisors and show that this effort truly did make a difference by, one, protecting the public, protecting consumers, and protecting the contractors that are playing by the rules.
Thank you. Now moving on to agenda item D, page 9 of the packet.
Marlo, I just had a comment. Is this, so when you talked about the underground economy, are we going to look through, like, I don't know, how do you, well, I'll just use the HVAC market, which I know a lot about. We have like 300,000 change-outs every year in the state of California in homes, and about 10%, that's a high number probably, get a permit pulled. So, and then the other day, a friend of mine sent me a ad in the paper from the San Jose Mercury News showing a licensed contractor that installs HVAC equipment, and he said he will sell it to a homeowner without installing it. So I think we should make sure we do a vast overlook over this, because a homeowner should not be installing an air conditioning anything, because they really don't know how, but they also have to have an EPA license for the refrigerants. So that stuff like that we really need to look into, because it's not just about the underground economy, it's about safety and global warming potentials and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So, it's my comment.
So Dave, if I would, Chair, I'd like to mention that we did discuss in the workshop of looking in the building departments that were going to be part of the program to look at the different permits that they had and the ones that they weren't receiving permits for, and then kind of going after those, not going after, but just looking into how we can probably resolve that so that they would get more permits. And, heating and air is one of them, and looking at Craigslist and seeing what kind of advertisements happening there. And that is the plan, to kind of look around and see what's happening in the area of these pilot programs. And then if they're successful, which we believe they will be, then we can go on to do more.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to add that we're going to track the success by measuring if there's more permits pulled for like HVAC in that geographical area versus someone who's not participating in a same-size geographical location.
Was anything brought up about online permitting or anything like that?
That really wasn't discussed.
Okay, because it would make it easier for permits to be pulled if we can get that statewide.
That's a great idea. We'll pass along.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on partnering with Cowboy?
Good morning, board members. My name is Alex Landsberg with the San Francisco Electrical Construction Industry. I came here for another item, but I saw this agenda item on here, and I want to commend you for it. I've worked to address wage theft and the underground economy for a number of years, and seeing the CSLB do this is quite heartening. I do want to note that there is it's kind of ironic, actually, that at the same time as you are looking for ways to address the underground economy, we're having the issue later on in the agenda, which is so much about the underground economy and whether or not you enable a sector that doesn't train, doesn't retain its people to grow with minimal oversight. So we'll be addressing these items later on down the line, but as you think about these issues, please consider that the licensing decisions you make and the regulatory decisions you make do have significant outcomes for how the underground economy functions, whether or not there's workers' comp fraud, whether or not there's insurance fraud, all sorts of things. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item D, presentation of certificates of appreciation. We have 2 certificates to present today. First, I'd like to invite Joe Cuff to come up. Joe is the chief building official for Rancho Cordova. That is the city that is literally next door to our headquarters in Sacramento. The relationship between CSLB and Joe's office serves as a model for how we effectively and proactively work with local building departments. I'm told our investigators are on the phone with Joe's field inspector on a weekly basis, and both teams work closely together to address the underground economy issues. Things like contractors not pulling building permits, not carrying workers' compensation insurance, as well as code violations and unlicensed activity. Joe, we thank you and your staff for being very effective in your efforts and your support to this industry. We need to come together to address potential violations, including assisting in getting law enforcement back up when needed. Jill has also been instrumental in helping our staff develop new building permit training courses and plays one of the starring roles in the course. In recognition of your dedication to consumer protection and to the important role that your building department play in the state's construction industry, thank you for your continued support of CSLB's efforts, particularly for helping create and lending your on-camera talents to new building permit training courses.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Scott Perillo. Scott is a deputy district attorney with the San Diego
I
County.
don't think he's here.
He is here. I met him earlier. Yes.
Sorry, am I wrong? Sorry.
Scott is a deputy district attorney with the San Diego County District Attorney's Office. For years, CSLB has enjoyed a terrific working relationship with the DA's office. We're recognizing Scott today for his extraordinary efforts to prosecute individuals who commit construction fraud and abuse against the elderly. His work has contributed to the safety of consumers here in San Diego County and to the integrity of the construction industry. Scott has been instrumental in convicting primarily unlicensed contractors and successfully ordering and getting large sums of restitution for many elderly victims. I'm told that in a recent case, the defendant pled guilty to felony grand theft and misdemeanor contracting without a license and a possible sentence of up to 1 year in jail. But the judge indicated she would not jail the defendant if he paid a sizable portion of the $26,000 restitution. These kinds of sentencing are really a win-win, especially for the victim. On a second case, the defendant, an unlicensed contractor, paid the victim $15,000 in restitution. And in a third case, the defendant, who had a long history of CSLB complaints and referrals to the DA, pled guilty to felony elder theft and misdemeanor contracting without a license and agreed to a prison term of 6 years.
You could do air quotes when you say agree.
So Scott, in recognition of your commitment to protecting citizens of San Diego County, your dedication and efforts to prosecute individuals who commit construction fraud and abuse against the elderly have greatly contributed to the safety of consumers in this county and to the integrity of the construction industry throughout California. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask Mr. Cuff either. Do either of you have any comments that you would like to make at this time? Turn the mic on, please.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just want to really thank you. I think we also benefit from the partnership. It's amazing. I'm out talking in the community about elder abuse all the time, and I am always selling the Contractors State Licensing Board, amazing investigators. People don't know in our community that you have investigators that are peace officers and can really help deter future crime and keep those bad actors, mostly those unlicensed contractors, from preying on the elderly. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you again. Did Joe leave? Okay. We're going to next move on to agenda item E, an update from the Department of Consumer Affairs. For members of the public and others in attendance who may not know, CSLB is part of the Department of Consumer Affairs. We're one of more than 35 regulatory programs in the department, as they'd like to say, regulating everything from doctors who bring us into the world to the funeral homes that help take us out, and just about everything in between. Overall, DCA administers more than 3.5 million licensees in 250 license types. We are honored today to have Dean Graffello with us this morning. Good morning, Dean.
Morning. I've affectionately referred to the department as the department that takes care of everyone from the womb to the tomb. And I have to mention that I borrowed that from my Longshore Warehouse Union days. Despite its name in the Aloha State, they did in fact represent NICU nurses to grave diggers, hence the mantra. Thank you for allowing me to address the Contractors State Licensing Board today and give a brief update about the department. Some highlights in 2018. First, I'd like to recap some of the great work done this past year. We convened 9 licensing and enforcement work group meetings, 3 substance abuse coordination committee meetings, 4 directors' quarterly meetings, pro rata work group meetings, and 2 directors' board member and advisory committee leadership teleconferences. These activities not only brought us together to promote open dialogue among the department's boards and bureaus, but also promoted collaboration to further our mission in protecting California's consumers. Thank you for the board and the board staff for participating in these convenings. 2 years and 1 day ago, when I first came to the department, it became very clear to me that one of the unfortunate phenomena of bureaucracies are the silos that inevitably exist. And while everyone would agree many meetings did occur, I think it was so important that they were intentional towards making sure we're trying to strip away those silos. In no way, shape, or form have we achieved perfection. Nonetheless, I'm fully confident that Contractors State Licensing Board or other entities in the department will continue to try to ensure that we are sharing best practices across all our programs. Specific to DCA's annual report, I invite you to review DCA's 2018 annual report for a much more comprehensive view of the department's achievements. The report contains statistical and financial record of the work that the department and its boards and bureaus have achieved over this past year. When you have a moment, I encourage you to visit the DCA website and review the document. Transition and the governor's budget. As you all know, Monday, January 7th marked a new era for our state, as Governor Newsom was sworn in as the 40th governor of California. We at DCA are honored and excited to be part of this new team. Our department is looking forward to doing all that we can to further the governor's vision. The department has met with the transition team and many new and some familiar faces that have been appointed to new positions within the governor's office. As for our current appointees, there's nothing you need to do other than continuing the service and great work you all have been doing on this board. We are currently working with the governor's appointments team regarding appointment vacancies and pending reappointments. Specific to his budget. On January 10, the governor released his budget outlining the fiscal priorities for the state. Based on the driving idea of California for all, the governor's budget proposes to pay down debts and pension obligations, continues to build up robust budget reserves while making significant investments in housing, childcare, healthcare, prescription drugs, preschool, and higher education. And if the first few months are any indication of the type of bold, inspiring activities that the governor is going to lead on, we can absolutely anticipate there's going to be more of that to come in these areas that I just mentioned and others. Immediately following the budget release, the department hosted a teleconference with board leadership, executive officers, and bureau chiefs to discuss the governor's 1920 proposed budget and to review proposals within the budget specific to DCA. I know understanding how the governor's budget translates to your individual budget is a top priority. So I want to reiterate, as mentioned on the call, that our fiscal operations will schedule individual program meetings to discuss individual budgets in greater detail. It's my understanding that CSLB had their meeting this past January 15th with our budgets unit. Directors Quarterly Meeting. On February 25th, I hosted the first 2019 Directors Quarterly Meeting. At this meeting, DCA provided an update on DCA's regulations unit, the executive officer salary study, and several division updates. As you may recall, these quarterly meetings are an opportunity to ensure that I am available to hear important issues facing our programs. Regarding DCA support to implement AB 2138 by Assemblymember Chu and BNP Chair Lowe. Because 2138 affects nearly every board and bureau, the department has taken steps to support our programs to achieve successful implementation. Last year at the Directors' Quarterly Meeting, DCA provided programs with a draft timeline to stay on track for a July 2020 implementation date. It's important to note that to stay on track, action will be required by all programs this May 2019. The Legal Affairs Division has developed model regulations to share with programs to create uniformity. I see that your board will be taking action on 2138, specific language later on in the agenda. Where feasible, DCA will take the lead on collecting data for the reporting requirements and complete one report to the legislature. Regarding mandatory sexual harassment prevention training, this year is a mandatory sexual harassment prevention training year for the entire department. This means all employees and board members are required to complete the training this year, even if it was completed last year. This training is online, interactive, and can be completed at your convenience. If you have any questions about this or any of the required trainings during our tenure as a board member, please contact our Office of Board and Bureau Services for assistance. You folks are very familiar with Karen DeHorace Nelson, who's in the first row, all things related to Board and Bureau Services and beyond. Specific to the Sunset Review hearing. As one of our 9 programs undergoing Sunset Review this year, I'd like to personally congratulate this board on a smooth Sunset Review hearing this past February. I'm glad that your board opted to schedule a mock hearing with the department and our legislative affairs staff. I hope that you found it helpful. I congratulate you in completing this phase, and please know the department is here to offer you our support for the rest of the Sunset Review process. Please let us know how the department can best support you. I will mention that I did sit in on the mock hearing with CSLB, and to no surprise, Mr. Vogt, Ms. Richardson, Mr. Albanese handled themselves in the most professional manner. And as everyone does in fact know, anytime that you put in the type of effort and preparation to perform, it's usually going to go well, and it absolutely did. So congratulations again. This concludes the department update, and as always, if the department can be service to the board, please let us know. Thank you for your diligent work and your valued partnership. Thank you.
So, I hope you don't mind, Dean, but before you walk away, I just want to say that Dean has been the director since February 2017, and last week, Director Graffello announced that he will be leaving his position effective April 19th. So this is the final time he'll be addressing us as the director. Director Graffello, on behalf of all of us here at CSLB and the board, we would like to thank you for your leadership, your dedication for protecting consumers of California over the past 2 years, as well as your support of our board and our more than 400 hardworking employees. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.